Hey, welcome to MMA Fight Coverage. I'll be your host tonight. I'm Sean Dallas Hall. Today with me, two of the UFC's finest and best stars, Mr. Drakkar Klose and Miss Cortney Casey. How are you today?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Trying to stay out of this
And
heat.
we have a special guest, Mr. Kingston Klose. What's up, buddy? He's got some good picks, I'm sure. Today is our UFC 249 preview review special. Kicks off. Finally, we get some fights. What's it been? 6 weeks? 6 weeks?
Was it March 14th was the last card? So, yeah,
about
then.
6 weeks. Yeah, 7 weeks.
That was about 6-7 weeks too long, if you ask me. 6-7 weeks too long. We got a great card, though. 2 title fights, headlined by Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje for the interim 155 title. Then the bantamweight title is up for grabs with Mr. Henry Cejudo facing Dominick Cruz. We got 2 heavyweight bouts on the main card. We got Francis Ngannou versus Rosenstruck. We got Greg Hardy, Jurgen Decastro. We got Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Kattar. On the prelim cards, we got Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis. That should be a fun one. Alexei Olynyk for Fabricio Werdum. Battle of the submission specialists. Strawweight battle. Esparza Waterson. That's got a lot of implications as far as the the rankings go. Middleweight battle, Uriah Hall versus Jacare. You know you want to do that, Court. Early prelims, Vicente Luque versus Nico Price. Don't sleep on that fight. That's a good fight right there. Bryce Mitchell, the undefeated guy, he's got 9 submissions out of his 12 wins, something like that. It's unbelievable. Bryce Mitchell, great up-and-coming fighter, fights Charles Rosa. And to start the whole thing off, Ryan Spann, Sam Alvey. We don't have time to talk about everything, so I kind of want to get started with where you used to be, Courtney. I want to get started with the Carla Esparza-Michelle Waterson fight. Big fight for both of them, right? Michelle's coming off a loss to Joanna. Esparza's on a 2-fight win streak. That's kind of a wide open thing they got going there in the strawweight division, and as far as the rankings go, I mean, anybody could move up in that spot. How do you see that fight moving through?
I honestly, I'm picking Waterson. I think Waterson can pull it off with her speed, and I mean, Esparza has her wrestling, but it just hasn't really been that dominant as it used to be. I think a lot of people kind of understand how she shoots and the way she sets up her shots, and I don't know. I don't think her hands have gotten any better. People claim that her hands have got. It's more like it looks like she's ducking and dodging, but it more looks like she's afraid to get hit. So I'm definitely going Waterson on that. I definitely think that the speed advantage is going to be where it's at. And
look, you fought Waterson, and then you fought her to a tough decision. I mean, right here in Arizona, I mean, that fight could have went either way. As far as Waterson goes, I mean, do you see somebody who could really win a title in Michelle Waterson?
I think she definitely has potential to get up there, but winning a title against Wiley, no. You know what I mean? She had a great fight against Joanna, but it's still not. I don't want to say that Joanna fought down, but when you see Joanna fight, while it's completely different fighter. Not taking anything away from Waterson, I just don't think it's her time right now. And I don't think it will be her time. I think, she's getting up there in age. We're all getting up there in age, but it just seems like, she's always going to be just right there.
And she's a point fighter.
Yeah.
I don't think a point fighter is ever going to, be a champion when you fight someone that's going to.
Especially when you work against somebody like Weili, right? I mean, Weili's she's a banger. She'll put you to sleep.
Yeah. I fought on the same
fast.
card as her that night, and just seeing her train, dude, she was sparring that whole week leading up to that fight.
That night after weigh-ins, after ceremonial weigh-ins, she was upstairs. He went to go get an ice bath, and we hear someone cracking pads, and she's going 10 rounds.
She's tough, and look, and that fight was tough too. The Joanna Weili, I mean, it was a classic fight. You know, it's one of those fights that they're probably going to run back, right? So you got to think as far as rankings go, this will maybe move somebody up here or there. If I looked at the rankings right now, and I look at Waterson. Let's look where they're at.
They're not too far separated, are they? By like 2 or 3?
No, they're not far off. I just wanted to check. Sparza's at 7, Waterson's at 8 right now.
Not even.
Yeah,
I don't think a win or a lose is really going to move the division any. It's just going to.
Yeah, I don't think it moves it up anything. I think if anything, if Michelle wins, she maybe leapfrogs Claudia Gadelha at 6, just because they're both 3-1 in their last 4, right?
Yeah.
Or Waterson's 3-1 in her last 4. Gadelha's 2-2.
But then Gadelha's fighting next weekend.
Right. So then it could change again right afterwards, right? You know. I mean,
yeah.
So I don't personally think that either one of these, even with a huge win, let's say Waterson KOs Esparza in, you know, highlight reel fashion, I still don't think that puts her in the hunt. I mean.
No, I think she's going to have to win at least 2 in a row and against someone a lot higher.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree.
Sorry.
I agree with that one for sure. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to Alexei Olynyk for Fabricio Werdum. Battle of the submission specialists as far as heavyweights go, right? I mean, who does submissions at heavyweight currently better than these two?
Is this Werdum's first fight back since testing positive for steroids?
I believe so. He was
looking extra soft.
I can pull that up. His last fight, Volkov, 2018. Yeah. So this is his first fight back. You know, for me, I think this fight takes place mostly on its feet, because I don't think Fabricio really wants to go down and even worry about that choke, right? I mean, that Ezekiel choke that Olynyk hits everybody with, you know, I mean, it's so dangerous. Like, why would you even want to be in there, I guess? But what are your thoughts on it? Who you taking in this one, and where you think it's going?
I'm gonna take the fresher guy, the guy that's been active. You know, taking 2 years off. There's no telling what he's been doing in those 2 years. You know, he's not taking steroids anymore, so he's not. You know, so he doesn't have that edge on him. So, but I'm taking the other guy.
You going Olynyk? Do you think he's going to get it done on the feet? You think he'd be able to? He's got the hands enough to be able to put him away? Or are you going to go decisions on this? What do you think?
I'll say decision.
I say TKO 3rd round.
Olynyk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think over time, you know, the Fabricio's got so many miles on him. You know, I mean, when you look at it like that, you know, you start paying attention to the miles that these guys got on him. I mean, God, he's fought everybody and done everything, right? I mean, it's a tough thing to go back in there after 2 year layoff and get back in there with guys who have been active. I agree with you. I agree with both of your thoughts on that one. Let's move up. I think it should be entertaining, right? I mean, especially if it goes to the ground. You know, that's something that I'm interested in on that fight. I hope it goes to the ground.
Same. Really interested if it goes to the ground. I think it's going to stay standing, but if it goes to the ground, I think it's going to be real interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move up one more fight. We got Cerrone Pettis rematch taking place in the welterweight division. Last time Anthony Pettis put Cerrone away with some heavy body work. Pettis lately hasn't necessarily looked like the Pettis of old. He still has fight in him, obviously, you know. And same thing with Cerrone, right? I mean, Cerrone's got a ton of miles. Pettis has got a ton of miles. I do see this fight being a very active and crowd-pleasing fight. I want to take Drakkar. I mean, who do you think is going to win that one?
Man, I hope Donald shows up because, you know, I thought Cowboy was going to show up against Notorious. And, you know, he came out with an interview saying, like, he wasn't even ready. You know, he didn't want to fight. But I think Pettis is gonna win. I don't think he's gonna show up. He's talking about retirement, so I think he's just in there to get a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a guy like Donald too. You know, if you're fighting every 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, right? Like when you're in there, is it maybe someone in your brain like you're like, the punishment's getting a little too much. Let's just shut it down for the night. I mean, do you think maybe that's
like when you're in there, you don't feel pain. You know what I mean? It's just after, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it could just be, you know, after the fight, he's like, man, it's time for me to think about retiring, hang it up.
What do you think, Court?
I'm a Cerrone fan, but again, I hope he shows up. You know, he already lost once. We know he doesn't do well with body shots. And he's been awfully chinny lately. So someone who's going to put the pace on you from round 1 to round 3, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough night for him unless he comes out. You know what I mean?
But the thing is, Pettis doesn't really put a pace. He's a flashy fighter.
But he'll start to get in a groove. That's the thing. He's kind of like Cerrone
Right.
at the same time. They got to get in a groove. But if Cerrone doesn't show up at all, or if it's taking him too long and Pettis starts to feel himself, I don't think Cerrone can recover from that. But at the same time, Cerrone.
When you look at both these guys, you almost think like, look, they're both kind of need a little bit of time to get started, right? I mean, guys who have beat Cerrone and guys who have beat Pettis are guys who have put immense amount of pressure from start to finish on these dudes. You know what I mean? Like when Ferguson fought Pettis, right? I mean, Pettis had him rock. Pettis had him hurt. Pettis had him on the ground, rolling around, looking like a crazy person. You know what I mean? And he gets up, but he kept the pressure on him, and Pettis then eventually folded after that. Same thing with Cerrone, right? You put a ton of pressure on Cerrone, and he just can't get started. And if he can't ever get started, it seems to me like it always turns out negatively for him.
Yeah, and I think they're equally well on the ground as well. Like, I think if it goes to I feel like anywhere the fight goes, it could be a good fight, but it really is who's gonna get off first.
I'm with you.
Who's gonna
push? So.
Who's gonna make him? Who's gonna push the pace? You know what I mean? Who's gonna be the one that dictate it?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that's
true. There's gonna be a lot of dancing, moving around. Probably pick up in a second, but I say TKO Pettis.
TKO Pettis. Court, what do you got?
Oh man, I'm gonna go.
Cowboys, your boy. Come on, man.
I'm gonna say. I don't want to say. I guess I'll say TKO Cerrone in the 3rd.
Okay.
Or head kick. I'm claiming head kick. I'm saying he lands a good head kick, a rocker, and then
At
TKO.
least at some point there's going to be a head kick landed by Cerrone, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
A nice
I like
one.
it.
A good shin, an old WEC shin across the face Cerrone head kick.
That would be fantastic. You know, I want nothing more than to see both of these guys reclaim some of that old flash, some of that old, like, you know, fan friendly fights that they put on. They showed for everybody for years. You know, I mean, for God's sakes, Anthony Pettis is the only guy that's been on the Wheaties box, right? I mean, that guy was the UFC's golden boy for a minute, right? I mean, he was everything. Off the cage kick at WEC here in Arizona. I mean, everything from that to submitting Ben to doing – there's all kinds of things that he did. And I would love nothing more than to see both of these guys reclaim some of that former glory and go out there and put 3 rounds of just hard-hitting, banging, fan-friendly action, especially on that prelim, you know, to be in that featured prelim on ESPN. You know, I would love to see that.
Yeah, and after that performance, if Cerrone was on the pay-per-view, I wouldn't buy it after that last performance he put on.
But you're gonna buy it with the next fight I'm here to talk about on the pay-per-view: Greg Hardy versus Jurgen Decastro.
That fight's gonna be good. Someone's definitely gonna get knocked out.
Are you a Hardy fan? I mean, look, I want to ask this question for both of you. You both have been in the UFC, and you've both been in the UFC for quite some time, right? I mean, Cortney, you've fought everybody in your division. You both have worked very hard, right? Are you a fan of how Greg Hardy is marketed, how he's pushed? I mean, is that something that maybe you don't care about, or is that – how do you feel about that?
Defense, it's business, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to say because I get that it's a business. I don't like the fact that certain people, I mean, none of us do. We don't like that certain people get, you know, precedence over other people. It's not like he's super great, you know what I mean? It's not like he's amazing. He's all right. He's all right. You know, he goes in there and throws hands and doesn't really know much anything else. He's a brawler. I don't know. I kind of chalk him up there with, I don't want to say Brock Lesnar, but that kind of just goes in there and just whatever happens, happens. I ain't good at really anything, but I'm going to fight. And
it's kind of almost like that same type of push too, right? I mean, like it's more for the casual fan. I mean, a guy like Greg Hardy is not a guy that for me as a hardcore fan is going to get me excited. I care zero.
I still don't understand how he's on the main card over Cerrone and Pettis. I get that it's a way for them to actually see where they're tuning in at because it's ESPN, and that's why they're, you know, Cerrone and them are down there. But at the same time, like, Greg Hardy on the pay-per-view, like, I don't know. Almost Waterson and Carter should be up there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's a more that fight has more weight to it, right? As far as when you look at the picture of what's really happening in that division or what's really happening in MMA, right? I mean, that has more weight to it. But the heavyweight division has always been an issue for the UFC, right? And I think that with it being an issue, they're looking for stars. They're looking for it. And then if they have to make one, so be it, right?
Yeah.
Dre?
I'm not gonna lie. I like watching Hardy fight. You know what I mean? I believe in second chances. You know, with all the stuff, you know, he had to deal with. You know, he gave up a lot. He lost a lot of money, but that was his own stupidity. I know, I understand that, but you know, he's an athlete. He was born to, you know, compete and, you know, do this stuff, and I'm glad he's able to do it in the UFC. And you know, I like watching him. I like watching him fight. So,
what do you think about the fact that he has a reputation for being an extremely dirty fighter?
That's what they want in football. You know what I mean? Like, they train these people. You know, he's been. But I'm saying, like, they train him his whole life to be aggressive. You know, attack. You know what I mean? Like,
really aggressive and attack.
And you don't think other NFL players are just like him, but they just don't get caught? You know.
Sure, but those NFL players aren't fighting in a cage. They're not fighting in the UFC. Right? I mean, let's look at every one of his UFC fights. There's been at least one foul called on him and at least several warnings on each one of those two.
But you got to think, he's still young in the game.
This is true.
What is this?
It's a good point.
His fifth fight? 6
That's a
fights.
good point.
He's still young. You know what I mean? Like, if LeBron James said he wanted to fight in the UFC, you know what I mean? With no experience, they're gonna let him fight.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, he is young. I personally am not a fan of, like, I'm not saying anything bad about Greg Hardy or the UFC or any of that stuff. I'm just not a fan of the fact, like, I feel like he fights very, very dirty, and I feel like the rules almost in his mind don't apply to him. You know, like, and he uses those, and that can be smart, and that can be, you know, eventually end up hurting you. Who knows, right? Only time will tell. Only time will tell on Greg Hardy.
And you always get at least one legal, you know, strike, so you might as well get it in.
Yeah, you at least get one shot to the groin, or a couple cage pulls, right? Right, Dre?
Yep. Yeah.
We'll move up one more fight. Jeremy Stephens, Calvin Kattar. Catchweight fight. Weight problems. This is going to be at 150.5 for Jeremy Stephens.
So is it a catchweight or a midweight?
It's a catchweight fight. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head which one of them missed weight or how that went.
I heard it was Jeremy Stephens, like 5 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, that's because it's at 150.5 instead of 145. So they must have agreed to a 150.5. So Jeremy came in a little heavy. Not sure why. Who knows? You know, this is a tough time right now. But anyways, to me, that is a fantastic fight on paper. I mean, Calvin Kattar is, to me, one of the rising stars of the UFC. Right? I mean, this guy can do it all. He can fight on the ground. His hands are good. His feet are good. He's educated with both of them. But Jeremy, you know, like he said, when he hits people, he puts them to sleep. You know, I mean, that's a tough fight to call. How you seeing that one go?
Cortney,
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Man, it's hard to say. I'm gonna have to go with Kattar. You know, just time. You know, Jeremy Stephens been in the game for a while, a lot of wars. I'm gonna have to go with the younger guy.
Missed weight too. I mean, if you're saying it was Jeremy that missed weight, you know, I mean that says things too, right?
Yep. So,
Court, who you got?
Kattar.
why?
I think right now he's finally starting to figure out, but he's very well rounded, and I think, I mean, everyone knows, you know, Jeremy hits hard, and I think he has the coaching staff and just the ability to, and not the ability, but the cage smarts to be able to avoid those interactions and still win a fight, where he doesn't have to put himself in those big dangers. Obviously, you know, Jeremy's a gamer. He's a veteran. But at the same time, I feel like Kattar's movement and skill set just kind of outweighs, you know, those heavy hands in those exchanges that would win Jeremy the fight.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm not saying, again, because I'm not allowed to say who can win or who can't. Or who is going to or isn't. I'm not allowed to make these picks. But I will tell you, when you watch both of them fight, I'm very, very impressed with Calvin Kattar. I mean, I think Calvin Kattar, the way he moves, the way he goes through a fight, he's very intelligent in all ways. I've even seen him get hit really hard a few times and be able to control himself and make it through those positions, right? Stay in the fight and pull out wins. I think it's going to be a tough night for Jeremy Stephens if all he's looking to do is catch a big shot, right?
What was Stephens' last fight? Yair. Was it Yair?
Yeah. I believe, yeah, let me pull it up. Yeah, he lost he had that no contest with Yair with the eye poke, remember? And then he lost the decision. He lost to Zabi. He lost to Jose Aldo. So I mean, he's coming off of 3 straight losses. This is this is a make or break for him.
Yeah, and
Make
then
or
he
break
didn't make
fight.
weight, so
And then he
we
didn't make weight.
what he's
Yeah,
been doing.
it's craziness, man. All right, let's move on. Francis Ngannou, Rosenstruck. Tough fight back for Francis. I mean, Rosenstruck is no slouch. That guy is tough, man. Francis is favored. I think, Francis hits like a Mack truck, obviously, but, I mean, what if he gets taken down again?
No, but
You
the
really think
other,
that's gonna happen?
nah, wasn't the other guy getting beat up by Alistair? Didn't he
Yeah.
get taken down by Alistair?
Yeah. He's a striker primarily as well, too. But look, even if you're a striker, right? I mean, can't you kind of build a game plan up enough to be able to be like, you know what, I can work through a strike to try to land a takedown? I mean, because tiring a guy like Francis out and on the ground and keeping him on the ground, I mean, that's a proven success, right? I mean, that's a proven recipe for success.
Yeah,
But can he do it?
Right.
no, he's been
That's
that
the
dude.
question.
What is he like? He had a 70 or 60, 70 Muay Thai fights with. I think he had like 60 knockouts. So he's not going to go to wrestling or try to take someone down, striking his whole career.
Yeah, he's definitely a striker from start to finish, and not to mention he's 10-0. Beat Alistair, beat Andre, and beat Alan Crowder, beat Junior Albini. I mean, he's on a 4-fight UFC win streak, all by KOs. I mean, you're looking at
who do you think? Do you think the UFC wants? Who do you think the UFC wants to win?
I think the UFC probably would favor Francis Ngannou because I think Francis Ngannou is a little bit more marketable, has a bigger name. I mean, when you look at something like that, I mean, if you even think the UFC favors anybody, right? I mean,
dude, because you know what I mean. Like, even if that Rosen dude wins,
Rosenstruck.
Even if he wins, you know what I mean. Like,
couple
they
too many
can't
of
push
these.
him.
I don't know.
They can't push him, so it's like that's what sucks about the UFC. Like, you could win so many fights and still not even get a chance to fight for the belt.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the division you're in, right? I mean, he's in a good division.
Oh yeah.
To be able to say, hey, look, if I knock out Francis Ngannou, right, you got to be able to put me on this short list. You're going to put me against maybe Derek Lewis, right, or somebody like that as I wait to see who wins or if Stipe and DC ever fight again, right? I mean, when that's going to happen, who knows? But when you see that, when you see something like that, and I think it goes for both guys, right? I think either one of those wins for either guy puts them on that extremely short list of next in line.
I think if Rosenstruck or whatever his name is tries to shoot on Ngannou, he's going to give him that big old uppercut, knock him out.
Put him up in the air.
Put him up in the air.
Brad Pitt snatch style, like in Snatch.
Yeah, I think Ngannou is way too athletic. He's quick, and like I think he has like 4 or 5 inch reach on him. So,
well, there you go. So you're taking Ngannou, Court. You're taking Ngannou too.
Yep.
All right. Let's move to the big ones. I mean, these ones, oh, man, these fights are so interesting. We got Henry Cejudo versus Dominick Cruz. Both people that I and you two know very well. Arizona boys fighting each other.
So do you want the truth out of me, or you want me?
I want the truth. Yeah, that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to talk about these things. So when you look at Henry, you're looking at a guy who held two titles, gave one up, Probably because he didn't want to cut weight anymore. I'm assuming he didn't want to go down and cut weight. There wasn't any big money fights there for him, right? So he goes up, has the Aldo fight scheduled. Aldo can't make it because of this Corona stuff. Dominick Cruz comes in. Dominick Cruz coming in off what? 2.5, almost 3 years out.
Like 4.
Done it before.
I think the last
fight, Ronda Rousey was
on the card.
Oh. So it's been a while.
Been a while.
I mean, how do you see? I mean, and maybe walk us through like who you see winning and how you see it happening. Dre, go ahead.
Man, I don't know who's gonna really win this fight. I think Dominick's gonna dance around. He's hard to hit, and I think Henry needs to use his wrestling if he wants to win this fight. Dominick has real good scrambles. I don't know. I really don't know who's gonna win this fight. I'm just gonna.
I thought you said you were gonna give us the truth. You came out here talking
No,
I'm gonna give you the truth. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
Man, I really don't care who really wins because you know what I mean. I think there's better 135ers, to be honest.
That's true.
You said
I think there's way better 35ers that should be fighting for the belt. I don't think Dominick should be fighting for the belt. I think Sanhagen, he should be fighting. Aljamain? There's other guys. Peter Yan. There's other guys that should have been fighting for this belt that I think that are better than Dominick. So
I think Peter Yan that was his spot. I think that's Peter Yan's spot. I think Sanhagen is soon to be the champion because I think his game is probably the most complete out of all of those people. But again, I don't know. I can't say too much.
And it just sucks. Like I had a conversation with Corey, and it's like I said, you can win all these fights, but if the UFC's not behind you, they're not gonna let you fight for the belt.
Court, how you seeing it go?
Well, when I heard about the fight, I think Dominick can pull it off. I honestly think Dominick can pull it off. I think he can weather the storm. I think his footwork's ridiculous. I know, everyone says, Cejudo beat up Mighty Mouse. Well, Mighty Mouse's footwork's he's quick. But
the other person to beat Mighty Mouse too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And Dominick hits you he hits you from weird angles, and his footwork sets up everything. Not saying that his wrestling's at the level of Cejudo, but his scrambles and his jiu-jitsu and how he implements those both very fluently, I feel like will be hard for Cejudo to keep on the ground. And I definitely think Dominick has those explosive moments outside of those scrambles where he can catch Cejudo. But with that said, I do think Cejudo has an advantage in the power as far as if he lands a shot and when he lands a shot.
Explosiveness, right?
Very, yes.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Dominick Cruz, one of the things I always remember back, and I remember talking to him, this was early. This was many years ago, and he was explaining to me that how on one entrance of his, how he does the hop, where his hip kind of hops over and he'll enter it. On each one of those entrances, he's got 15 different sequences he can move off of that one entrance, right? And so you have multiple different entrances that you have also 10 to 15 different sequences off of each of that. How do you get a read on a guy like that, right? And how do you read what's going to happen? And I think that's going to be a problem for Cejudo. And I think that if Cejudo does pull this off, it's going to be probably off of an extremely explosive, something like a high kick, how Dominick bends over the hip, right? Like he'll bend over the hip and he'll kind of put that hip over. I think maybe Cejudo can time something, throw a kick off of one of those. Or like Dre said, if he wants to use the wrestling.
Get up that high, he had to at least get – how tall is Cejudo's what, like 5'2", 5 foot?
He can get that foot up that high for sure.
Oh, okay.
I think so. You know what I mean?
Did you see the picture at weigh-ins?
Oh, yeah. He was way bigger,
That
right?
height differences.
Much bigger
Look like
man.
a foot at least.
And not to mention, you know, I mean, Henry, you should be able to hit him in the head.
Yeah. Hey, he got a head on him.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's a big target you got going on there. But look, I will tell you, there is not a person that has a better, like, as far as camp, like, centered around him, everything as far as science, as far as everything, like, centered around one person. Like, Henry Cejudo has that. Henry Cejudo has everybody catering to his camp. And if there's anybody that's going to be ready physically, mentally, and all, it's Henry Cejudo. You know what I mean? The guy's a winner. Let's be honest. The guy's a winner. You know, and so I think, to me, it's a tough fight. I see why Dominick's doing it, because I think Dominick has seen Henry come up from infancy of this sport and says to himself, bro, you're not even close to my level at this yet, right? As far as MMA goes. I can see him in his head saying that, and he's probably right. I mean, he's not, as far as technicalities go, as far as, like, technical striking, scrambles, the wrestling, I mean, all that for MMA. I don't think Henry's at that level yet, but Henry is very explosive. He's powerful, and he's a smart guy. You know what I mean? In the cage, he fights smart. You know, he learned a lot from getting beat by Demetrius Johnson. He learned a lot from that, and ever since then, he's been on a tear. So, I mean, personally, I'd like to see him go down and fight Davidson Figueiredo, because I think that's the fight. I mean, for me, like, I think you leave the 35s alone. Let's go back. Let's start the 25 back up, and let's get this going, because I think Davidson Figueiredo is a beast, and he needs somebody to fight, and that's Henry Cejudo. But who knows? Yeah, that guy's a monster. Isn't he a monster?
Yeah.
That guy's a monster, I'm telling you. So what was your pick? I mean, what's your pick? You got it.
I picked Dominick.
Dominick. Decision?
I say decision.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think he has some like high pointed rounds too, like some 10-8s.
Okay.
Did I pick already?
No, you didn't.
No, you're fencing us. You're fencing us. That's why I had to swing back.
The buzz going already.
That's why I had to swing back. I had to swing back to it, because you were fencing us.
I'm going to go with Henry, you know what I mean? Like, Dominick hasn't fought in 5 years. Wait, since was it? Yeah, about 5 years.
Dominick ain't fought in 32 years.
We'll see how that ring rust. You know what I mean? He talks about there's no such thing as ring rust, but you know.
Man, when you're facing a guy like Henry Cejudo, that's a tough business to come off the shelf for that long and face a guy at that level. All right, we're running short on time, so you know we got to get to this main event. Ferguson Gaethje, right?
Somebody's getting knocked out.
I'm going with Gaethje.
You gotta love Gaethje, right? Gaethje is one of the most fun fighters to ever watch in the history of the UFC, in my opinion. He is so fun to watch. But Ferguson is too, and Ferguson has a ton of skills. Ferguson's on a 12-fight win streak. Who goes on 12-fight win streaks in the UFC?
Max Holloway.
Right.
I went on a 3-fight.
You know, I mean, a 12-fight win streak, right? And still has yet to get to fight for a real belt. I don't even want to get involved in that. I don't even want to get started on that.
What is John Jones?
That to me is ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the greats, right?
Yeah,
Holloway. You're talking about Jones. You're talking about GSP. You're talking about Habib, like guys like that, right? I mean, you're talking about the greats. So I can't make predictions on this stuff, but I can say I know that this fight will be as advertised. It will be fun. It will be fun from start to finish. I got to get your take on it, though. Dre, you want to start? Who you got?
You know, I would be going with my Michigan boy, Tony Ferguson, but I just don't see it. You know, I think Gaethje, you know, Ferguson gets hit a lot.
He's hit him.
And I think if Gaethje, once he hits him that once and rocks him, he's gonna put that pressure on him, and he's not gonna give him time to recover. So I think if Gaethje can get it done in the first 2 rounds, it's gonna be it's gonna be a new champion.
Court?
I think Gaethje.
Go with the Arizona boy, Justin Gaethje, huh?
Yeah, I'm still skeptical of how it's gonna go if it gets to the ground. I know Gaethje's wrestling's phenomenal. Like, I get that his wrestling's phenomenal, but Ferguson's ground game is like on another level of.
You know,
attack.
Gaethje has 0 takedown attempts in the UFC.
I've never seen him on the ground.
I know. That's what I mean. I know that. But who's to say that Ferguson's not going to try to take him down? You know, something funky, or just Barambola him into him, go for a knee. You know, anything. Yeah. Some crazy ninja shit is what they like to call it. But you know, who knows?
I'm with you. That's what makes it so interesting, right? Because I think there's no better scrambler in the game than Tony Ferguson. I think Tony Ferguson's scrambling ability is unmatched by anybody in all of the divisions. You can pick anybody. His scrambling ability is unbelievable. Even when he gets hurt. Remember when Pettis tagged him, right? Hurt him bad. What's he do? He rolls backwards, does a back roll, right? Lands on his feet for a second, then a side roll, and then rolls back over top, and then tries to shoot a single, and then stops back, and then lays back, and then they stand it up. Like, the guy knows how to be hurt and still fight. You know, and so for me, that's where I think that the danger for Gaethje comes in. Because Gaethje is one of those guys, he hits you, and he's coming. He's putting it all out there. Everything's coming. You know what I mean? He's throwing it. I don't care what round it is. It could be 10 seconds into the fight. If he hurts you, he's putting everything he has into it to finish. What if he can't finish?
Right? But what if he does?
Fantastic, right? I mean, and look, I badly want to see Ferguson Habib. Don't get me wrong. I think that fight is way overdue, obviously. But to me, this fight right here is way more interesting, way more
100%.
fan-friendly.
Yeah, I'd rather see Gaethje and Khabib. Really?
I'd rather see Gaethje and anybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Gaethje and I want to see Gaethje McGregor. What? Get out of town with that fight. Imagine that fight.
I did an interview and I said Gaethje is the one guy I would definitely turn down if I had to fight him. Dude, you have to hit that dude with everything. He's still gonna come.
You got to Mack truck that guy. You got to put him to sleep. He is. I mean, if you don't put him to sleep, you know what I mean. You're not winning. But again, he's also been put to sleep twice, right?
Yeah.
Poirier put him out, and what's his name put him out too. Who else beat him?
But that's not after. But they still got their ass beat for a while, and then
Oh, Eddie Alvarez. So he got beat by Alvarez. He got knocked out by Alvarez, and he got knocked out by Poirier. You know, so it's one of those things where, you know, Justin Gaethje's one of those guys where it's, look, I'm throwing the coin, I'm flipping it. Let's go.
He's like a heavyweight. He's either knocking people out or getting knocked out. Like, that's how the fight's going to go.
Let's go, right? And it's so fun. And it caps off so much for us for all the stuff that we've been going through. We haven't had fights in forever. We see a lot of cards. And before all this started, we see a lot of cards, and you see maybe some top of the line fights that you're like, oh, come on, right? Look at even your fight, Romero Adesanya. You're like, oh, come on, man, this fight supposed to be good, not good. This fight will be as advertised, no questions asked, because Gaethje can't fight any other way. All right.
I gotta go though.
Final thoughts.
I'm going with Gaethje.
Gaethje it is.
Go with Gaethje. I love you guys.
Hopefully we talk to you again before your fight coming up soon. You do have a fight coming up soon, so best of luck to you in the training. Dre.
Appreciate you.
Get up.
Dre. So who you're taking Gaethje?
Yeah, I think Gaethje's gonna get it done. I think he's gonna knock him out. Yeah, that's how I see it. You know, I always rock with my Michigan boys, but I just don't think he's gonna pull it off. You know, I was looking at Tony Ferguson's record. He fights once a year. You know, this would be a second fight since the injury?
I have to pull that up real quick.
He doesn't fight. He's not that active.
No, he's not a super active fighter. So he fought June 2019 and October 2018, October 2017.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's 3 fights in 3 years, you know, or 2 and yeah.
Yeah, you know,
years,
and I like picking the fighters that are more active. You know what I mean? Gaethje, he'll fight anyone, anytime. You know, you just give him a date, he's gonna show up and put on a show.
I'm with you, my man. Look, I had a great time. Hopefully see you soon. Best of luck to you. Hopefully you stay safe during this time. And tell Court and young Kingston, I said peace.
Yes,
and
sir.
for all of us at MMA Fight Coverage, we out!
Peace.